Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking to you about the time I got stalked, okay? Let's get right on into it. So I was jogging down my road because we don't have a sidewalk. And I was jogging and this man in a white van starts looking at me, and I'm just like, and I look back at him, just keep jogging, and then I notice that he's following me from like behind, and I'm just like, okay, that's kind of awkward. Maybe he lives around here or something, but he doesn't. So yeah, and he follows me, and I look back and I keep jogging, and he puts on his glasses because I think he just didn't want me to see his face or something, and he follows me still, and I like go to the side where there's bushes and there's like a little field so he doesn't follow me, I guess. I was so stupid. This was like last year, and he left and I didn't see him that whole day. And then the next day he was in front of my house with his van, and I go out to walk my dog and he's just sitting there like staring at me with his glasses. I'm like, okay, that's kind of awkward. So he follows me like he did that day before, and he starts like honking his horn and stuff, and it's really weird, and I didn't know how to react to it. So he gets out of his car and he's like, hey you, and I'm like, hi, and he's like, what's your name? And I'm like, why? And he's like, because you're really pretty. And I'm like, dang. And he was like, oh, I can take you somewhere if you want. And I was like, no, I'm fine. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he leaves, and I'm like, oh my god, that was so creepy. So then later I go to McDonald's with my friend, and he's already there. Like, as soon as I'm walking, he's already there. And I'm like, okay, that's a little creepy. And so he stares at me. He's like, oh, I didn't know you would show up here. And I was like, oh yeah. And then like the whole time I was eating with my friends, he was staring at me like so hard. And like I kept looking at him because he kept staring at me, and I could feel him staring at me. So it was kind of hard like not to look. But yeah. And then we were at the mall the same day, and he was there, and he kept staring at me, and I'm like, okay, I have a stalker. And then I told my friends what happened, and they're like, if he comes near us, we're calling the police. So then here's where it gets crazier. We walk up the escalators, and he's there, like all already on the top, and he's chasing this lady with a baby. And the woman gets scared, and she gets scared and drops the baby. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then like we're already going up the escalator, and the man like comes running down the hall or whatever it's called of the mall, and he starts running down the escalator, but while we were going up, if you get what I mean. So like we're going up, and then he's running down like that. So we hop right down the escalator while it's still going up, and we hide in a photo booth, and we waited there for like 45 minutes until he was gone. And we thought he was gone, but he wasn't. So we were just like, okay, he's gone. So then we went back upstairs, and we went to a store, and he was there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So then me and my friends walked up to him. We were just like, what do you want? Why do you keep following me? And then he was like, I just think she's really pretty. And so then I said, but how do you know where I live, and like you keep following me? And he like got upset, he rolled his eyes and ran away like I never saw him. And I was like, what the hell? So then I call my mom, and I'm like, I have a stalker. Well, not like that, you know what I mean. And so my mom was like, okay, I'll be down there in a sec. And she took forever to come down to the mall. And then the guy was still there, thankfully. And then I walked into another store, and he like has a box, and he's like, this is for you. And I'm like, what is it? And then it was like a necklace. Like I didn't even know how to respond to that, and I was like, I'm not taking that. And he's like, why? And I was like, because I don't know you, and you keep following me, and it's so weird. And so he's like, oh, I guess. And I'm like, fuck. And this man is like 45 years old, like he's really old. And I'm like, why do you do this? Like seriously? And so yeah, and so my mom finally shows up, and my mom calls the police, or the mall security, whatever. And the mall security comes up, and he, like, as soon as he sees security, he goes off. Like, he loses his fucking mind. Like, he starts, like, running everywhere. He starts banging his head on the wall. He starts, like, abusing himself. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, is this guy mental or something? So, yeah, that's basically my stalker story. It was really, really awkward, and I did not know how. Oh my god, it was so awkward, guys. You don't even understand how awkward that was. And it was so, I was so scared. For like a week after that happened, I slept in my parents' room because I was so scared and I was so terrified. But anyway, that's my stalker story, and yeah. I don't know how to say it.